Well, Iran's supreme leader has blamed the U.S. and Israel for the protests gripping Iran since Mahsa Amini's death, and he is not the only one. Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Baghir Khalibaf agrees. He believes the protests are aimed at overthrowing the regime and believes foreign influences are involved. And nearly 100 people have died in the protests since Amini's death 2 weeks ago. Behnam Taleblu, the senior fellow for the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, is here. Welcome to the show. It has been crazy just to see how much this has picked up in the last 2 weeks since Amini's death. I mean, what is the ability of the Western government to influence events inside Iran? Would you say that this is influencing people?
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you, Lindsay. I certainly think there's a lot more Western governments, in particular the United States of America, can do to stand with the Iranian people and to really put meat on the bone when they say things like, we empathize with the Iranian people or we want them to have a representative government. There really is a lot the U.S. can do, and there's a lot its partners can do in the diplomatic space, informational space, and even the economic space. For instance, it can continue to enforce the sanctions that they've inherited to make sure that the regime does not have continuing illicit flows funding the security forces that are cracking down on Iranians protesting. Iranian protesters are now on the street for 3+ weeks now. So they're, risking literally life and limb to have their voice heard. And it's not the first time. From 2017 to present, they've been doing this not for reform, but for a wholesale change. They're trying to show the world that the government in Tehran does not embody or represent their views, values, and interests, that there fundamentally is a difference between the Iranian people and the government of the Islamic Republic. And those people deserve our support. And that kind of support should go much farther than just a tweet.
Behnam, do you feel like protests work in Iran?
Well, protests, in one sense, you could say, did work because the Islamic Republic came through the street, came to power 43 years ago through the street. And that's why, as long as there have been, as long as there's been an Islamic Republic, there have been protests against it. The regime has always been very sensitive about what the mood is on the ground. They've always been very sensitive about creating or co-opting different security forces just so that they can stay in power. They know that violence is how they've stayed in power in the past, and if past is prologue, they'll look to crack down at home more, as well as continue to point a finger of blame abroad. Just as you mentioned, the Supreme Leader broke about a week and a half of silence that continue to draw from the same playbook. The regime does fear street power, and if street power does move into strike power, meaning if the people who are on the streets do have their voice echoed and amplified by the Iranians in critical sectors like the energy sector, then you could have more groundwork moving to repeat the same things that brought down the previous regime in 1979.
So Canada put sanctions on 25 officials today, which freezes any Canadian assets that they may have. Do these type of sanctions work? Do you think that this will be effective?
Well, that's just the price floor, in my view. It's good that the Canadians are following the U.S. playbook. Many Western countries should be amplifying that. But that's just the beginning. We need to get creative in the public sector and private sector about trying to find ways to get or restore or maintain internet access for freedom-seeking Iranians, as well as look for other creative ways to put our money where our mouth is when we say we stand with the Iranian people.
Behnam Taleblu, thanks for being here. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Well, the record continues right after the break. Don't go away.